tremendous sense, a profound sense of sympathy for those people, those women who suffered as a result of his behaviour and his illegal criminal activities. And secondly, I regret very...
Lord Mandelson has admitted to continuing his relationship long after Epstein was convicted, and that there are more embarrassing details we don't yet know.
Starmer's authority crumbles. The Mandelson scandal that shook Westminster. If you thought British politics couldn't get any more dramatic, you'd be spectacularly wrong. Before we dive into this absolute car crash of a political scandal, smash that subscribe button because UK Connors is about to take you through the most damaging blow to Keir Starmer's already fragile authority yet. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. Picture this. It's Wednesday morning, and Keir Starmer is standing at the dispatch box during Prime Minister's questions, publicly defending his choice for US ambassador. By Thursday morning, that very same ambassador is fired with immediate effect. If that doesn't scream political chaos, I don't know what does. This isn't just another Westminster scandal. This is a masterclass in how quickly political reputations can crumble when the past comes calling. Peter Mandelson, the architect of New Labour, the Prince of Spin himself, has been unceremoniously booted from what should have been the crown jewel appointment of his twilight years. The British ambassador to Washington, arguably one of the most prestigious diplomatic posts in government, became too toxic to touch overnight. But here's where it gets absolutely fascinating. This wasn't some sudden revelation that caught everyone off guard. This was a scandal waiting to happen, with warning signs that apparently no one in Downing Street bothered to heed. Let's be brutally honest about what we're dealing with here. Peter Mandelson's association with Jeffrey Epstein wasn't some closely guarded state secret. It was public knowledge, whispered about in Westminster corridors and reported in various outlets over the years. Yet somehow, someway, the vetting process that's supposed to prevent exactly this kind of diplomatic disaster completely failed. Either the system is broken beyond repair, or someone made a calculated gamble that spectacularly backfired. The Foreign Office's statement reads like something from a political thriller. New evidence emerged in the form of emails authored by Mandelson himself, revealing that his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein was fundamentally different from what was understood at the time of his hiring. But here's the kicker. These weren't just friendly correspondence between acquaintances. These emails allegedly show Mandelson claiming that Epstein's initial conviction was unjust and should be contested. Think about that for a moment. A man appointed to represent Britain's interests in America was apparently arguing that a convicted sex offender had been wrongly accused. If you're finding this story as gripping as a political thriller, you're going to want to subscribe to UK Connors right now because we're just getting started. And the implications of this scandal stretch far beyond one man's career. But it gets worse. Much worse. According to the revelations that have emerged, Mandelson didn't just maintain a friendship with Epstein. He actively lobbied for convicted pedophiles' early release. During his tenure as business secretary, he struck deals and used his influence in ways that should make every right-thinking person's stomach turn. The image of a senior British politician, someone with access to the highest levels of government, advocating for a man who preyed on vulnerable young women is nothing short of nauseating. Conservative MP Neil O'Brien didn't mince words, calling this yet another extraordinary error of judgment by this weak Prime Minister. And you know what? He's absolutely right. This isn't Starmer's first rodeo with questionable appointments, and it certainly won't be his last if this pattern continues. But what makes this particularly damaging is the timeline. Starmer didn't just quietly shuffle Mandelson aside when questions were raised. He doubled down, publicly defended him during PMQs, and then was forced into a humiliating U-turn within 24 hours. The political optics are devastating. Here's a prime minister who campaigned on restoring integrity to government, who positioned himself as a steady, responsible alternative to conservative chaos, and yet is presiding over appointment scandals that would make even Boris Johnson blush. The sheer incompetence of the vetting process raises serious questions about who's actually running the show in Downing Street. Liverpool MP Kim Johnson's comments cut straight to the heart of the matter. I'm really pleased he's been sacked, but I'd like to know what due diligence regarding Mandelson's connection with the famous paedophile when his relationship with Epstein was well known to everyone. It was taken before he was appointed. This isn't just about one bad apple. This is about systemic failure at the highest levels of government. The Conservative Party smells blood in the water, and they are circling like sharks. They are demanding the government release all record pertaining to Mandelson's screening process, and frankly, they have every right to ask these questions. If the vetting system failed this spectacularly with someone as high-profile as Mandelson, what does that say about other appointments? How many other time bombs are ticking away in government positions because due diligence was sacrificed for political convenience? Make sure you're subscribed to UK Connors because the scandal has tentacles reaching into every corner of the British establishment, and we're going to follow every single thread. What's particularly galling is a response from Foreign Office Minister Stephen Doughty, who maintained that the government was unaware of Mandelson's problematic correspondence until it was illuminated by the media the night before his dismissal. This defense is almost insulting to public intelligence. Are we seriously expected to believe that in an age of digital communication and comprehensive background checks, letters expressing sympathy for Jeffrey Epstein somehow slipped through the cracks? Either the security services are catastrophically incompetent, or someone made a conscious decision to overlook inconvenient truths. The international implications are staggering. President Trump's upcoming state visit has been thrown into chaos, with diplomatic protocols now in tatters because Britain no longer has an ambassador in Washington when Anglo-American relations need careful management more than ever. The timing couldn't be worse, with global tensions running high and economic uncertainties mounting on both sides of the Atlantic. But here's what makes the scandal particularly delicious from a political observer's perspective. It exposes the fundamental contradictions at the heart of Starmer's leadership style. He positions himself as a methodical lawyer, the man who considers all angles before making decisions, yet his record suggests someone who repeatedly makes impulsive choices and then struggles to manage the consequences. From his handling of the winter fuel allowance controversy to his flip-flopping on various policy positions, there's a pattern emerging of a leader who lacks the political instincts necessary. Kimi Badenoch didn't hold back in her assessment, describing this as evidence that Starmer had failed another key test of leadership. She's not wrong. Leadership isn't just about making the right decisions. It's about having the judgment to avoid preventable disasters in the first place. The Mandelson appointment wasn't forced upon Starmer by circumstances. It was a choice he made, defended publicly, and then had to reverse in the most humiliating fashion possible. The Labour backbench rebellion is equally telling. When your own MPs are joining the chorus of condemnation, you know the political damage extends far beyond partisan point scoring. Former frontbencher Andy MacDonald's criticism of the appointment process and calls for investigation show that even loyal party members recognize the magnitude of this failure. This isn't external opposition creating problems for the government. This is internal recognition that standards have slipped dangerously low. You're witnessing political authority crumbling in real time. So hit that subscribe button for UK Connors because we'll be tracking every twist and turn as this scandal continues to unfold. The broader implications for British politics are profound. This scandal reinforces public cynicism about the political class and their relationship with controversial figures from the past. It feeds into narratives about establishment cover-ups and the different rules that seem to apply to those with connections and influence. When ordinary citizens are subjected to rigorous background checks for relatively minor positions, seeing someone with Mandelson's baggage nearly waltz into one of the most sensitive diplomatic roles in government breeds a kind of resentment that fuels populist movements. Moreover, this debacle highlights the ongoing influence of new Labour veterans in Starmer's inner circle. The appointment of Mandelson wasn't just about diplomatic experience. It was about surrounding himself with figures who understand how to navigate complex political terrain. But in clinging to these establishment figures, Starmer risks appearing out of touch with modern sensibilities about accountability and appropriate associations. The international perspective adds another layer of complexity. How do you explain to American officials, already dealing with their own Epstein-related controversies, that Britain's choice for ambassador had a problematic relationship with the same individual? The diplomatic embarrassment extends far beyond domestic political point scoring. It undermines Britain's credibility on the world stage at a time when soft power and moral authority matter more than ever. What makes this particularly damaging for Starmer is how it intersects with broader questions about his judgment and leadership capabilities. This isn't an isolated incident, but part of a pattern where good intentions collide with poor execution. The decision to defend Mandelson publicly during PMQs, only to fire him hours later, suggests a leadership team that's either poorly informed about developing situations or lacks the courage to make difficult decisions when they matter most. The media's role in exposing the problematic emails raises uncomfortable questions about government transparency and the effectiveness of official oversight mechanisms. If journalists can uncover information that apparently eluded the security services and Foreign Office officials responsible for vetting diplomatic appointments, what does that say about the competence of these institutions? Are we witnessing the democratization of accountability through investigative journalism, or the failure of official channels designed to prevent exactly these kinds of scandals? Conservative strategists will undoubtedly use this scandal as ammunition in their broader narrative about Labour's unfitness for government. They'll argue that if Starmer can't properly vet a single high-profile appointment, how can he be trusted with the complex decisions required to run the country effectively? It's a compelling line of attack that resonates precisely because it builds on existing concerns about competence and judgment. For those of you still watching, make sure you're subscribed to UK Connors because the political ramifications of this scandal will be playing out for months to come, and we'll be here to analyze every development. The speed of Mandelson's dismissal, while ultimately the right decision, also raises questions about the government's crisis management capabilities. The fact that new information could emerge so late in the process suggests either inadequate initial vetting or a failure to continuously monitor potential risks associated with high-profile appointments. Neither explanation reflects well on the systems and processes that are supposed to protect the government from precisely these kinds of reputational disasters. Looking ahead, this scandal will likely trigger a comprehensive review of diplomatic appointment procedures, but the political damage has already been done. Starmer's authority, already questioned after various policy U-turns and communication failures, has taken another significant hit. In politics, perception often matters more than reality, and the perception created by this affair is of a prime minister who lacks the judgment and backbone necessary for effective leadership. The victim impact dimension cannot be ignored either. Every time these Jeffrey Epstein connections surface in political discourse, it reopens wounds for the survivors of his crimes and reduces their suffering to political point scoring. The fact that someone who apparently defended Epstein's innocence came so close to representing Britain officially adds insult to injury for those who have already endured so much. This brings us to the fundamental question at the heart of this scandal. What does it say about modern British politics that someone with Mandelson's background could come so close to such a prestigious appointment? It suggests either catastrophic institutional failure or a political culture where connections and loyalty matter more than appropriate standards and public accountability. The timing of Trump's upcoming state visit adds geopolitical complexity to what might otherwise be a purely domestic political scandal. Britain's special relationship with America has always required careful diplomatic management, but conducting that relationship without a permanent ambassador during a presidential transition period creates unnecessary complications and potential for misunderstanding. As we wrap up this analysis of one of the most damaging political scandals in recent memory, remember that this story is far from over. The demands for full disclosure of Mandelson's vetting process, the questions about who knew what and when, and the broader implications for government competence will continue dominating headlines for weeks to come. This is exactly the kind of comprehensive political coverage you can expect from UK Connors. So if you haven't already, subscribe now and ring that notification bell because British politics just keeps getting more extraordinary, and you won't want to miss a single development. The Mandelson affair might be ending, but the questions it raises about leadership, judgment, and institutional competence are just beginning. Stay tuned, stay engaged, and keep watching UK Connors for political analysis that